If you guys been watching my series long enough, you know that my friend Steve, who's been on a few episodes actually, if you check the early days, he's been on a lot of episode movie breakdowns, movie showdowns at the time. And Steve loves horror movies. And a lot of the requests I've been getting from him in the last few years have been horror movies. Hereditary, Midsummer. Well, we had another request for the movie Annihilation, and Steve, Kelsey, and we all watched it at a movie night, a virtual movie night. And at the end of the movie, we got done watching it. We decided to talk about a few things and about what our thoughts were on Natalie Portman's movie. Because it's actually one of the first movies I watched with Natalie Portman being the solo star, which technically she's not a solo star. There's a bunch of other characters like Tessa Thompson. You got Isaac in this movie. So you have a lot of people in this movie. And I watched it, I was like, okay, it's a horror flick. Neat little horror flick here. But I was like, how come I never really heard of it? I seen it like a commercial one or two times, but I never really heard of this movie. And I was like, it's not really that bad of a movie, but nobody talks about it. Then I decided to look at the box office and it says otherwise. So today, I'm gonna review 2018's horror flick, Annihilation. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What's up, world? Welcome to another episode of Movie Breakdowns. I'm your host, Ali Zakka. What is Movie Breakdowns? The movie review series will look at new and old movies, give them a grade A through F. Plus and minuses do count. And if there's a movie you want me to review, let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I'll get to it as best I can. I also have a Patreon. And on Patreon, which is called Patreon/Ali Zakka, I'm going to say Ali Zakka /Patreon, which that's not right. It's Patreon/Ali Zakka. And on that Patreon, if you pay for my services, you get reviews before they come out on Facebook and YouTube months in advance. For example, I'm recording this in November. You're not going to see this review until December. Also, you're going to get other things like movie reactions, trailer reviews, trailer thoughts, and you get a bunch of other stuff with that. Plus, you get first come, first serve. You ask for a movie and you pay for my services, I get to it. There's no waiting. I get to it and put it on there and then put it out on Facebook and YouTube when the scheduled time comes. Now, let's go ahead and get into today's review of Annihilation's 2018's movie. And this movie is considered a horror movie. Now, before we watch this movie, before I watch it with Kelsey, Bethany, and Steve, which was Steve's request here, before I watched this movie with them, we were talking about how Steve and Kelsey both saw this movie before, and they was like, this movie is not a horror movie. They were saying it's not a horror. You know, Steve said it's a horror. He looked at the definition of it. Kelsey didn't believe it was a horror. She said it's more of a thriller. Well, you guys saw my Midsummer review, and y'all know I looked at the definition of a horror. And this movie, Annihilation, is a horror flick. It is definitely a horror flick because it might not be scary and intense like a slasher film, but the images in this movie does incite horror. The sounds of this movie does like you get a shock feeling like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. For example, and this is a spoiler review, guys. I'm gonna throw that out there right now. For example, there's a bear in this movie that can project the voice of his victims. One of the characters get killed by this bear and is screaming in fear and asks for help. So when the bear reappears in the movie, when it roars, instead of roaring, it is screaming the sound of the woman that it killed. Terrifying, completely terrifying. And I give it props for that. And this movie has a lot of things that I give props to. Like my first thoughts just jumping into it, the visuals. It's beautiful. It's like a Zack Snyder film with the visuals and the color and the light and the way the design is set up and the set is set up. It is really done beautifully and amazing visuals. Like there's scenes with like you can put it on the back of a wall here. You can put it on your computer screen because the way the movie looks and the colors of the movie. Great, great. The acting is great. Some of the line delivery, like the dialogue, like the line delivery, but the dialogue some of it's kind of funny. Like there's thing where customers say, not customer, but sorry, it's like my work mode. But the thing where some of the actors and actresses would say something, and you're like, that line didn't fit there. Or for example, one of the characters at the end of the movie, or towards the end of the movie, goes, "It's gonna be Annihilation," and Steve and I at the same time both said, "Roll credits." Similar scenes, shout out there. But that's like one nitpick I had, and then another nitpick to me. Some people like it, like Bethany. She's like, she didn't mind it. Bethany's my girlfriend, by the way. If you guys are watching this, she didn't mind it, but I was like, yeah, I didn't mind. It bugged me a little bit, and Steve and Kelsey both jumped on me about it. But that's just my personal preference. This is my movie review. This is my personal preference. It's the flashback within a flashback, and it's a horror flick. So as a horror flick, I feel like when you're watching a horror flick, you don't need a flashback within a horror flick to open up the movie, because you already know the characters are going to survive. Now, what they do with the flashback, like if it's a flashback has the movie that it picks up towards the middle or towards the end, like the third act picks up from the flashback and keeps moving forward, that's different. But this movie doesn't do that. This movie keeps the flashback, and then the last 10 minutes of the movie, it takes you to present time, and then it goes off before the movie ends. And then on top of that, the movie is a flashback, but also has flashback within the flashback, so you're trying to figure out what's going on in certain parts. It could be a little mumble jumble and kind of mix up the movie, and you're trying to figure out what is happening in the scene. And now this movie is based off of a book. The book Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer, Jeff Vandermeer. So it's based off of his book, and the director, Alex Garland, and writer, he actually did certain things in this movie. For example, it'd be like a new chapter. So he'd be like, Area X is a place, a setting in the movie. In the movie, like, cuts to a black screen that says Area X, and then cuts to another scene with Area X in it. And then the shimmer, it shows like the shimmer, like this is book or chapter 2 or chapter 3, then it goes to the scenes on that, and then it goes to Lighthouse, which is chapter 4, chapter 5, you know. So the movie is done in edits like a book. I didn't mind it. It was unique. It threw me off at first, and then as I got through watching the movie, I was like, okay. It breaks up like act 1, act 2, act 3. It's okay. But the flashback for a horror flick, like if this was an action movie, or if this was a just not a, it wasn't supposed to be a horror movie, the flashback thing doesn't really bother me. But as a categorized as a horror flick, I feel like it takes the horror out of it when you know the character, the main character, survives towards the end because she's telling the story in the end, like in the beginning of the movie, throughout the whole movie. Now, if it did the middle way, like for example, a movie I think does a good job of it, but it's not a horror flick, so I didn't mind it. Emperor's New Groove. You find the main character in a spot, and then he tells you how he got there, and it picks up from that spot and keeps going. After Earth does the same thing. After Earth just wasn't as good as telling it. Now, Annihilation is nowhere near After Earth. To me, Annihilation is way, way better movie than After Earth, but they both have that same trope in that movie. And just watching two movies back to back like that, it was like, here we go again? Okay. But the acting in this movie is great. The lighting and the lighting of it was great. The storytelling of it was great. I thought the story made sense. It was linear. You knew what was going to happen. Like you knew, like it wasn't like kind of confusing as far as the main reason for what the character was doing. Then they threw in some other things that the book had. For example, the main character has an affair. And they throw that in there after making you feel the sympathy card for the main character who thought she lost her husband over a year ago. Kind of find out that no, she's been cheating on her husband this whole time, and now you're like, why do I care that you're going on this mission that your husband went on? Because it was a suicide mission, because he felt that he had nothing to lose now that he learned that his wife was cheating, which the movie didn't really express that much. My friends, I had that conversation after the movie review to talk about, or after watching the movie to talk about these things. I was like, okay, interesting. Speaking of the story, let's go ahead and jump into it. So Natalie Portman's character, Lena, is a biologist teacher at a college or university, and her husband's been gone for a year now. He went on a military mission to an unknown place, and he appears at the beginning of the movie, like appears out of nowhere. And Natalie Portman, Lena's character, is shocked. She's like, how did he come back? And when she goes to greet her husband, Kane, he doesn't really show any affection or like he recognized her, but he just knew that he knew of her. And that's why he returned back to his home. Kind of find out Kane has been missing over a year. He went to this place called the Shimmer, which is a cosmic event going on in this lighthouse on the eastern coast. I believe it's the East Coast. Doesn't really say exactly where it's at. I probably missed that actually. What was the location at? Anyway, this lighthouse on the coast, the eastern Pacific coast of the United States. And when Kane comes back, he started getting sick. Lena tries to rush to the hospital. They get jumped by secret agent services. And they wake up in this place called Area X, not Weapon X, that's X-Men, but Area X, which is a military base on the border of this Shimmer, this cosmic event that nobody can explain, and scientists and military and government all trying to figure this out. Lena meets this doctor, the psychiatrist by the name of Dr. Ventress, and Lena trying to figure out what's going on. Ventress explain, and they get a team together to go into the Shimmer to figure out the source of everything. Everybody who has went in there has not returned, and it's up to them to try to go in, figure out the issues, and come back with something to tell everybody. And that is pretty much the main storyline of this. And when they go into the Shimmer, this cosmic event, they come across different genetics, modified mutations from plants to animals to different creatures to an alien. Yes, there's aliens in this, and the aliens are the ones who are causing the event. And come to find out, Kane has been either abducted or swapped out or mutated into an alien himself, and either he killed himself or the alien killed himself and then kind of merged with Kane to kind of get out. When Lena comes to find out, she goes in, finds the original alien or another alien. Same thing happens, and at the end of the movie, you get that, oh, cliffhanger. Is she alien? Is she not the alien? Is she the real one? Is she not the real one? And Kane and Lena embrace each other at the end of the movie. Their eyes flicker like something has changed, and the movie goes off. And that is pretty much the story. Right there in a nutshell. Wrapped it up in a tight little bow. Now, there's a lot more stuff that goes on in this. There's more gruesome scenes. There's more scenes where like Oscar Isaac is cutting open a guy, and you see him cut open the guy, and they show the whole thing, and his intestines or a worm is inside of him and it's moving. And his intestines is moving, or this worm is inside of him is moving, and Oscar like grabs it. Kane, he grabs the intestines and shows it, and you're like, okay, is he gone crazy here? Also, Lena doesn't tell everybody that she's going there because her husband was there, and her husband came back weird, so she's trying to figure out what's going on to her husband. So that's why she went there. Other characters went into this Shimmer, this void, pretty much to kind of redeem themselves because they had nothing to lose at that point, or they are like scarred or done something that for them this is like their way of repenting and getting back and giving back. So it's a really unique movie about like imperfections and flaws and thinking points. It's a unique movie, I'll put it that way. It's very unique. Characters, so go ahead and jump into it. You got Lena, who played by Natalie Portman. Natalie Portman's a good actress. It's funny because I tell my friends, like, anytime I think of Natalie Portman, I think of Star Wars and her acting in Attack of the Clones. But then you watch her in like Thor, you watch her in other things, you're like, she's really good. She's a really good actress. Tessa Thompson as Josie, she does great. And she has a really cool scene where her character is not really a fighter and not really afraid of things, and she talks about this in a scene where she knows she's dying, and it's really calming and soothing. And Tessa does a really good job in this movie where she's like panic and you can feel her panic and scare, but then when she's calm you feel that. She's really good, great actress. You have Gina Rodriguez who plays Anya. She was like the brute character to me. She was a great character. You have Jennifer Jason Leigh, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who plays Dr. Ventress. I thought she did great. She also was a character who didn't really show emotion and didn't really move quick, and this movie really displayed that. I thought she did a great job. Oscar Isaac as Kane. Oscar Isaac is a great actor. He did great. Fun fact, Benedict Wong is in this movie as like the guy interrogating Lena. He's the scientist or government guy named Lomax. Just fun fact, throwing that out there. Tuva Novotny? Tuva Novotny? She plays Cass Shepard. Thought she did great. Who else here? That's pretty much it. I got Josie, Anya, Cass, Dr. Ventress, Lena. That's the 5 characters there. Yeah. That's pretty much it when it comes to the cast. Steve pointed out, he's like, this is an all-women cast. And to me, I was like, okay. I didn't really think anything of it while watching the movie. I was like, it's kind of neat. There was a scene where they was about to walk into the Shimmer and it looked like the Ghostbusters squad because that way they was dressed and they all had guns. I was like, this is really interesting how a Ghostbuster movie is going to be. But as far as the whole group being women, I didn't think anything of it. Like, it's like, It wouldn't dawn on me until Steve pointed that out. Like, oh, there is all women in this movie, but their characters are all different. And to me, it doesn't really like matter if all women or all guys. Now, the one thing I didn't like about the characters themselves, besides Lena, who went into this, she's a former military soldier, so she knew how to handle herself in times when things break down, things hit the fan. She was able to react in a way to like save somebody, or like somebody got captured and she wanted to go save somebody. She was quick to move. Everybody else was kind of frozen. And the reason why, because they're all scientists, but nobody was really a trained soldier besides Lena. And to me, I was like, that's kind of weird. If you think you're going to get a group of people going to a very top-notch latch, can't get into secret place that you don't know what's going on, and people going there and not coming back out, you would think you'll have more of a well-rounded team of like soldiers being in with Lena and the squad, or maybe the scientists are soldiers who are smart and at the same time can handle a situation where, oh no, there's a bear attacking people, let's figure out a way to stop it, versus people who are just like, we're not really trained soldiers, but we can handle ourselves, but we're not going to move as quick because we're terrified. I like how the movie shows that like the characters don't move. For example, there's a whole scene where Josie gets snatched up by a giant alligator and Dr. Ventress sees this and just watch. And that's her frozen in fear. But Lena's the one who jumps into action, who runs from outside to go in and try to save Josie. I was like, why is Dr. Ventress not doing anything? Why ain't she moving? What's going on here? And maybe the book expand on that a little more, explain why characters don't move, why characters react a certain way. But that's the only thing I didn't really like about that. This whole thing that's going on in the government doesn't send more top, like, people who can be smart and bronze at the same time, and not just all smart or all bronze. Like, want a mixture of that. A mixture. To me, like, if it's your third attempt, you should try maybe a group that's not just all brains. So if something hit the fans, they all know how to react to this. But I guess that plays in part of the horror of the movie as well. But that's another thought I had there. There are some Easter eggs in this movie. There are some things you'll notice, like, I didn't catch it the first time, so you might need to watch it, rewatch it a few times to see what goes on. The one thing I didn't really like was the affair scene. I feel like that didn't need to be added to this movie. It might be added necessary for the book, but as far as the movie, didn't need to be added. Just have the main guy, Kane, go into it because of the military. He was forced to do it. Like, but he's not. He went into a suicide mission. So I think the movie just said, like, you know, he was forced to do this by his government, his military, and he even selected because he's top notch at his job to go in there. I think that'd be a better explanation versus the my wife cheated on me, I had nothing else to lose anymore, so I'm gonna go ahead and go. Like, and we had to break that down after the movie. The book is more clear cut about it, but the movie has kind of left it vague. Any last thoughts? Not really. Music is fine. There's a dubstep kind of music scene in the movie towards the end of the movie when you see the alien. It's kind of like, okay. And speaking of the alien, it was cool. It's kind of anticlimactic after the movie builds you up to this to show like, oh, this is the cause of everything, and the alien's not really a threatening character. He's just trying to figure out, or she was trying to figure out what Lena was doing. So it's a nice little mirror game there. But yeah, is it a Friday night movie? Yeah, it's a Friday night movie. I say watch with your friends and family. Why not? Okay, grading time. Actually, before I get into grading time, I do want to mention one thing. This movie didn't do so well in the box office. It had a budget of $40 million. Opening weekend, this movie made $11 million and grossed $32 million worldwide, United States, and cumulative worldwide made $43 million. So this movie didn't really do so well in the box office compared to its budget. Worldwide, it barely topped the budget $40 million by $3 million. United States, it didn't do so well, so worldwide kind of helped it out with, kind of helped it out. But yeah, it didn't really do that well in the box office, and I wonder why. I wonder why the movie didn't do so well. Like, I wonder, was it the... I do remember seeing commercials of this, but I don't know. The cast is not a bad cast, so I'm not sure why they didn't make a lot of money worldwide. But grading time, I'm going to grade this movie a solid B-. B-. I was on the verge of like flipping from C+ to B-, and at times, not gonna lie, this movie did make it a little like I yawned a few times, but I was still intrigued into the movie. So it wasn't like a boring movie, and colorful wise, like the movie's really colorful. The movie artistically and viewing, it's beautiful to watch. The setup and the set and how like some of the designs for like the, I guess, horror images, the imagery was really good. I'll put it that way. The one thing I didn't like was the flashback. I wasn't a fan of the flashback. You might be a fan of it, but I wasn't a fan of it for a horror flick. Also, the flashback, within the flashback, I didn't like. It's some of the characters' like reasonings and motivations. And I won't even say the characters' motivations and reasoning. I'll say like the fact that you selected these characters to go into this play storyline wise didn't really add up. But the main storyline, the main plot was done really well. The ending's kind of anticlimactic, but yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as some of the nags I have there in my quick synopsis, actors and actresses were great. The acting was great, the music was great, and the visuals was really great. It's a B-. So there it is. If you guys seen Annihilation, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Hear what your thoughts are. And if there's a movie you want me to review, let me know. Please put in the comment section as well. Thank you guys for watching this episode of Movie Breakdowns. See you next time, and keep being awesome. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, you want to see what else I'm doing in my normal life and other things that's going on, please follow me on Instagram at Ali_Zakka. I'll put it right here around my face. Yep, right there. Also, if you want more episodes of Movie Breakdowns or Grind Towards Success or whatever it is I'm doing on YouTube, you know what? Follow my page right here, like I said before, the little comment thing right there, And then you can watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns right here, and watch the last episode of Grind Towards Success right there. Other than that, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all. See y'all next time, and keep being awesome.